Welcome to the Deeper Thinking podcast. For most of modern history, unidentified aerial phenomena, UAPs as they are now officially designated, existed in the margins. They were an anomaly that governments dismissed, a curiosity that skeptics mocked, a fascination relegated to the realm of conspiracies and science fiction. The world, conditioned by official denials and Hollywood sensationalism, learned to look away. But something has changed. The silence that once shrouded this subject is beginning to crack. The question is no longer whether a revelation is coming, but how disruptive it will be and whether humanity is prepared for its implications. Christopher Sharp, a journalist with deep ties to defense and intelligence circles, has called what is coming earth-shattering. Luis Elizondo, the former director of the Pentagon's Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, AATP, has stated unequivocally that the revelation will be very, very public. These are not men prone to hyperbole. They have spent years navigating the labyrinth of classified programs, speaking in careful, measured tones. Their newfound urgency suggests a shift from slow, controlled disclosure to something imminent and unavoidable. Unlike previous moments of heightened speculation, this time the conversation is not vague or open-ended. Intelligence sources, military insiders, and investigative journalists are all pointing to a precise moment, January 18, 2025. The specificity of this date is striking. There is no scheduled government hearing, no Pentagon press conference, no pre-announced intelligence briefing. And yet those closest to the slow-burning process of disclosure are speaking with remarkable certainty. They are not speculating, they are warning. Elizondo has stated that the coming revelation will dominate global media, a claim that, given his history, carries serious weight. His past warnings have often preceded major developments in the unfolding UAP narrative. If he is now speaking in absolutes, then the scale of what lies ahead is unlike anything previously disclosed. But the nature of this revelation is what makes it truly unsettling. For years, the conversation around UAPs has been framed in technical terms: how they move, how they evade detection, what their existence suggests about propulsion systems far beyond our known capabilities. But recently, those with access to classified intelligence have been pointing in an entirely different direction. The focus is no longer on physics, it is on biology. Ross Coulthart, an investigative journalist with extensive experience covering national security issues, has alluded to disturbing allegations, classified programs involving non-human intelligence, military efforts to study consciousness, and even hints at what he has called hybridization. These claims, once the stuff of fringe speculation, are now emerging from individuals with access to the highest levels of intelligence. More strikingly, Representative Matt Gaetz, a sitting US congressman with clearance to classified briefings, has publicly stated that military personnel have conveyed to him their belief in hybrid breeding programs. This is not a claim surfacing from anonymous internet sources or self-proclaimed whistleblowers. It is coming from an elected official actively engaged in UAP-related oversight. If these allegations are part of the coming disclosure, they rewrite the nature of secrecy itself. The cover-up would no longer be about technology, national security, or Cold War geopolitics. It would be about something far more profound, something that reaches into the very fabric of human identity. Which raises the inevitable question, why now? If these revelations stem from a cover-up spanning decades, why is the dam breaking at this precise moment? What force, external or internal, is compelling disclosure after so many years of institutional silence? There are several possibilities. One is geopolitical. It is possible that another world power, perhaps China or Russia, is on the verge of making its own revelations, forcing the United States to get ahead of the story. If UAP research has been an area of strategic competition between nations, a major disclosure from a rival state could disrupt global power dynamics, leaving the US with little choice but to control the narrative preemptively. Another possibility is technological. If a breakthrough in artificial intelligence, surveillance capabilities, or space observation has made secrecy untenable, then disclosure is no longer a choice. It is an inevitability. Perhaps new satellite technology has captured something that cannot be explained away. Perhaps scientific advancements have led to discoveries that must be accounted for. If this is the case, then January 18 is not a random date, it is a deadline. And then there is the most unsettling scenario of all, that disclosure is not happening on human terms. If non-human intelligence has begun engaging with humanity in ways that defy containment, then the institutions that control this narrative may be bracing for an event they cannot manage. This would explain the shift from calculated hints to outright statements of inevitability. For decades, the intelligence community has carefully managed the slow drip of UAP-related disclosures. Every declassified document, every congressional hearing, every official statement has been meticulously curated to reveal just enough to shift public perception while maintaining ambiguity around the most controversial aspects. If insiders are now signaling that control is slipping, then what is coming is not another Pentagon report or a new batch of grainy videos. It is something that cannot be ignored. There is precedent for this kind of secrecy, and for the moment when secrecy collapses. The Manhattan Project, the CIA's MK-Ultra experiments, and the NSA's mass surveillance programs all remained hidden for years before being exposed. In each case, disclosure was not voluntary. It was forced by shifting political landscapes, external pressures, or sheer inevitability. But UAPs are different. This is not a classified weapons program. This is not a covert intelligence operation. This is a revelation that could alter the way humanity understands itself. If the voices warning about January 18 are correct, then this will not be another vague confirmation that unidentified craft exist. It will not be another carefully worded Pentagon statement, another ambiguous leak hinting at technology beyond our comprehension. This will be the moment when the conversation shifts from speculation to reality. And if that reality involves not just advanced craft, but non-human intelligence, if it involves direct interaction or even integration with humanity in ways we have yet to comprehend, then the world is about to enter uncharted territory. A revelation of this magnitude will not be met with universal acceptance. Skepticism, disinformation, and institutional resistance will seek to contain its impact. Even the most undeniable truths can be lost in the chaos of modern media, drowned out by competing narratives, buried beneath the relentless churn of the news cycle. But if the warnings are correct, if the nature of this disclosure is as profound as those closest to it are suggesting, then no amount of narrative control will be enough to contain the consequences. The signals are clear. This time, something is different. What remains unknown is whether the world is ready to face what comes next. When secrecy unravels, it never does so cleanly. It tears in unpredictable ways, leaving gaps for speculation, distortion, and panic to take hold. This is why those who control information, governments, intelligence agencies, media gatekeepers, fight so fiercely to manage disclosure. They understand that truth, once uncontained, does not behave. If January 18th is indeed the moment when the UAP phenomenon transitions from insinuation to undeniable reality, then the struggle will not only be about what is revealed, it will be about how the world reacts. Historically, when institutions lose control over a paradigm-shifting revelation, the initial response is chaos. The first stage is always denial. Even when the NSA's mass surveillance program was exposed, even when the Pentagon Papers dismantled the official narrative of the Vietnam War, even when Watergate unraveled before the world's eyes, there were those who refused to believe. Authority figures scrambled to minimize, reframe, or outright dismiss the revelations. If UAP disclosure follows this pattern, the first response will be an attempt to contain the fallout. There will be carefully crafted statements assuring the public that nothing fundamentally changes. If the revelation involves biological entities, officials will downplay its implications, emphasizing that the government has the situation under control. If it involves advanced non-human technology, the focus will be on defense preparedness. The language of national security will be deployed to suffocate existential questions, but containment will only hold for so long. The second stage will be fragmentation. In a world saturated with competing narratives, the revelation will not emerge as a single, universally accepted truth. It will splinter. One faction will see it as confirmation of long-held suspicions. Another will dismiss it as psychological warfare. Some will insist that the disclosure itself is a deception, an engineered spectacle designed to distract from something even more sinister. And then there will be those who will see it not as an unveiling, but as a revelation of something that has always been known. For indigenous cultures, for esoteric traditions, for the forgotten mythologies that whisper of ancient visitations, the concept of non-human intelligence is not new. It has been encoded into sacred texts, hidden in folklore, preserved in symbols that predate the modern scientific worldview. If the coming disclosure confirms elements of these ancestral memories, it will force a reckoning between history and official narrative, between modernity and the echoes of the past. Religious institutions will be forced to respond. Some will attempt to integrate the revelation within their existing frameworks, finding echoes of divine encounters in the data. Others may see it as a challenge, an existential threat to their theological structures. How will the Vatican, with its long history of carefully navigating scientific and cosmological discoveries, react? How will evangelical groups, deeply embedded in apocalyptic narratives, interpret it? The reaction from scientific institutions will be equally volatile. If the disclosure involves biological evidence, evolutionary theory itself may need to be reconsidered. If it involves consciousness-related phenomena, the boundaries between science and mysticism may begin to blur. And yet, despite the magnitude of such a revelation, there will be those who resist it, not through skepticism, but through indifference. This is the third stage, normalization. In an era of relentless distraction where every crisis is overshadowed by the next, even the most profound disclosures risk being swallowed by the sheer inertia of the modern world. There will be financial markets to stabilize, political crises to manage, wars to continue. If the revelation does not immediately disrupt the daily routines of the average person, it may be absorbed into the background noise of an already fractured reality. It is this possibility that governments may be counting on. For years, disclosure has been a controlled process, strategic, incremental, designed not to shock but to acclimate. The release of declassified videos showing unidentified craft maneuvering in ways that defy physics, the quiet confirmation from the Pentagon that UAPs are real but unexplained, the congressional hearings that, while significant, stopped short of delivering undeniable proof. Each step has been a calibration, a test of how much the public can absorb without panic. But if January 18th is not part of this controlled process, if it is something unanticipated, something that has slipped beyond institutional management, then we are entering unknown territory. And this brings us to the final stage, adaptation. If the coming revelation is as profound as those closest to it suggest, then humanity will not process it in a single moment. It will unfold in waves, shifting from disbelief to speculation to reluctant acceptance. New frameworks will emerge. New institutions will rise to interpret and manage the implications. Governments will establish task forces. Scientists will rush to redefine paradigms. Theologians will seek new interpretations of ancient texts. But beneath all of this will be the deeper question, the one that has haunted humanity for centuries, the one that transcends politics and science, the one that lingers at the edges of our collective consciousness. What does this mean for us? If we are not alone, if we have never been alone, then everything shifts. Our history, our identity, our purpose. And if the truth has been hidden, if those in power have known more than they have admitted, then the question is not just what has been concealed, but why. Because disclosure is not just about revealing the existence of non-human intelligence. It is about revealing what has been kept from us. It is about trust, about control, about the fundamental structures that shape our world. If the silence is finally breaking, it is not just a moment of revelation. It is a moment of reckoning. And the only question left is whether we are ready for what comes next. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Deeper Thinking podcast, an audio essay read by me, Holly, your digital narrator. Until next time.